Hello, FFA. How are you doing tonight? I can't tell you what an honor it is to be a part of your 91st State Convention. I'm here tonight to introduce your current state treasurer, Mr. Ben Butcher. If you haven't met him yet, I encourage you that sometime before the end of the convention, go up and just hold your hand out and introduce yourself to him. He loves to meet new people, especially FFA people. This guy has loved farming, animals, and anything ag-related since he was a little kid. He wore holes in the knees of his jeans and wore tracks in the carpet at the same time, running his toy combine around the living room. At 5, he started showing dairy cows at our county fair. He's done that every year since. In 2016, he won first place showmanship in our county Dairy Youth Award. Once he was old enough to start in the FFA, things really took off. In the 8th grade, he started doing swine production and showing, and that went on for 5 years. He participated in green hand conduct of meetings. In 9th grade, he decided he was going to be an ag teacher. He also was on a Parley Pro team that year. In the 10th grade, he was on an ag issues team, and that was the first competition where he came to state and competed. In the 11th grade, he was your state first place gold winner for extemporaneous speaking and went on to compete at the national convention. As a senior, he received his state degree, served as his chapter president, won state first place gold for demonstration along with his partner, Miss Avi Jackson. He was awarded a Challenge 24 scholarship for ag education and was elected your 2018-19 state treasurer. His SAEs have yielded 2 small businesses for him. One, he raises bees and sells the honey, and he also has a lawn mowing service. He's currently enrolled here at MSU full-time in the College of Agriculture. If you ask him about his successes, I don't think he'd tell you about all of the hard work, and it's taken a lot of hard work. I've watched it. I think he'd tell you about the support he got from his mom and dad, Beth and Ben, and from his sister and best enemy, Faith. I think he'd tell you about all the help and direction and encouragement he got from his advisors, Mr. Mark Forbush, Mr. Brian Keisling, and Miss Casey Forbush. And to a point, he'd be right about those things. But I think the real reason behind his success is his heart. Like I told you earlier, this guy has always loved anything ag or ag-related. He loves people and he wants to know their story. He loves honesty and is always willing to stand up for what he believes in, which isn't always easy in this politically correct culture we live in. He loves new things, especially ag things, and he loves sharing that with other people. He loves making other people laugh, and he isn't afraid to laugh at himself. He loves working hard and helping other people get their work done. He is generous and kind to a fault. I think these are the real reasons for his successes. FFA members, please welcome your 2018-19 State Treasurer, my grandson and best friend, Mr. Ben Butcher.
Good afternoon, I'm Derek Loss, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about my sister. Looking at her, you can tell this young lady was determined to chase her dreams. She always did the above and beyond, pushing herself to the top, whether if it was for school, FFA, 4-H, or even at home. I can remember when we were kids, we'd go outside with our toy tractors after our dad cut the grass, acting like we were baling the hay. Always rushed around to see who would get the most bales. You already knew who won all the time. Autumn was always fascinated by all the animals and plants we grew. That girl was so driven to be at the top, she always did the above and beyond, putting countless hours in working her livestock. But she was never selfish. One year for Christmas, my dad gave her a roll of toilet paper as a joke. Most kids would have been upset, but not Autumn. She was just so grateful that she got something for Christmas. When she joined the FFA 8 years ago, I can remember her coming home to give me a 5-minute speech about plant lives. Thanks to Ms. Kramer, I got to hear all about it. Autumn, being your brother is a blessing. I'm beyond proud of you and your amazing accomplishments. I couldn't imagine calling anyone else my twin or partner in crime, even you're slightly older than me. But mostly important, you're going to be one heck of an egg teacher. Michigan FFA, I give you your Region 3 State Vice President and my older sister, Autumn Loss.
I want to win the public speaking contest, but I know I'll mess up my lines.
I want to try out for the football team, but I'm not strong enough.
I want to join the marching band, but I will never be able to memorize my music.
I want to show in the large animal sweepstakes, but I'll never be good enough.
At some point in our lives, we have all had that "but I can't" moment. Whether it is a place we've wanted to visit, an event we've wanted to participate in, or a goal we have always wanted to accomplish, the one thing that consistently holds us back is thinking that we can't. The mindset that we cannot do these things stems from a fear that ultimately we are not good enough, and in some way, we fall short.
The word stride is used to describe a stage of progress, a step in the journey. The fear that tricks us into believing we are not good enough is the same one that keeps us from taking that first step forward. The key to overcoming this fear and the "but I can't" attitude is finding the stride we walk with and taking things step by step. William Wordsworth once said, "To begin, begin." While taking that first step is usually the hardest part of the journey, taking that step allows us to do the one thing we have always wanted to do. Our first step in finding our stride is to simply begin.
How many people in the room have heard the phrase, "it's as easy as riding a bike"? Well, for me, riding a bike was no easy feat. Let me take you back to the beginning of 3rd grade. It was the first day of 3rd grade gym class, and our gym teacher, Mrs. Hengingsbach, said that we were going to have a bike rally during the last week of school. The entire class erupted with joy, but my face turned blank with fear. You see, I could drive a tractor better than my mom could, but I, Ben Butcher, could not ride a bike.
Imagine you are 13,000 feet in the air and you are about to take a giant leap. You develop a rush of feelings, nervous, scared, and excited. This is how I felt at 8th grade as chapter officer interviews were quickly approaching. Through all these nerves, I grabbed an officer application, filled it out, and turned it in later that week. I was so pumped, I carried practice questions with me from class to class, reading them over and over again, thinking about what they meant to me. My friends helped me by holding mock interviews. Even my mom helped me. But like most moms, her help came in the form of advice. A few of her common phrases were, "Well, honey, that sounds great, but let's try this instead." Or my personal favorite, "Autumn Rose, get to the point," when I found myself getting a little off task. Yeah, those were just a few timeless classics.
You see, when I was about 4 years old, I got my first bike. It was the coolest bike ever made. It was painted John Deere green and had yellow writing on the frame that proudly read John Deere. But this bike's coolest feature was the most high-tech training wheels this side of the Mississippi. But even with the training wheels, I struggled to ride it. I could barely push the pedals down, and frankly, I'd rather drive my battery-operated John Deere Gator. So at 4 years old, I tossed aside the idea of riding my bike and stuck with my gator. After that fateful first day of third grade gym class, I was reminded of the struggles of trying to ride my first bike. And when I got home, I cried to my mom about how embarrassed I was going to be at school. Now, up to this point in my short life, my mom had always been loving and supportive, but her next words were, "Well, you'll just have to learn how to ride your bike." Seriously? I guess my mom didn't understand that all I needed was a tractor.
Through my time running for office, I got a lot of criticism, some good and some that left me with doubt. Some of the phrases I heard were, "You're too young to run. You won't get it over the older members. You won't get it this year, but at least the experience will be good for you." Through all these criticisms, I smiled, nodded, and said, "Yeah, you're probably right." I started to let these comments get to me. My self-doubt was setting in, and I began to question why I was even running. Eventually, I found my excitement again, thinking about all the things I could do as chapter officer if I was elected.
As the bike rally drew closer, the thought of not being able to ride my bike with all my friends became quite embarrassing. I decided it was time to learn how to ride my bike. I grabbed my bike, put my feet to the pedals, pushed off, and toppled to the ground. My family, who was watching from afar, instantly started laughing. But in that moment, it was not so funny to me. And in my anger, I grabbed the bike and threw it across the yard, or as far as a third grader can throw a bicycle. I convinced myself that I would never ride one. My supportive mother thought that if I had a different bike, I would have better luck. A few weeks before the bike rally, she came home with her first bicycle. This thing was old. It had to have been from the 70s. It was painted lime green and had yellow writing on the side, but it had a really long and wide seat. I got on this bike. I went about 5 feet, handlebars shaking the whole way, only to fall over sideways again.
Finally, it was the big night. Everything I prepared for would be tested in this one evening. When everyone got there, my advisor pulled out her deck of cards, and we all selected one to determine our order. As I sat and waited, I blindly played with the card in my hand and completely laughed at myself when I realized I had destroyed the innocent card. Soon, there was only one person left to go before me. So I did that thing some people do when they get nervous. I lied to myself. I said, "Wow, why are my hands shaking and sweaty? That's weird because I'm not nervous at all." But in reality, I was a nervous wreck.
After falling off my mom's bike several times, my sister Faith decided to join in and ride hers. She rode literal circles around me, even showing off. But after seeing my determination, she decided to come over and offer some advice. She said, "Hey, just be calm and hold the handlebars straight. You can do it." I did what she said and made it all the way down our 50-foot driveway when she yelled, "Turn!" Okay. Wipe out. All kidding aside, at that moment, I realized that the only hindrance to me riding my bike was me. I would rather convince myself that I would never ride one, when all I needed to do was believe in myself and actually try.
The interview was a blur. The questions were so different from what I remembered. One interviewer asked me to give a cheer. Yes, an actual cheer. There was a few other funny questions and some that were more serious. I finished the interview and ran out of the room. Later that night, they announced the slate. I was elected in the sentinel position. I couldn't believe it. Even at one point, discouragement almost held me back. I had made the team. I didn't think I could do this at such a young age, especially after all the doubt people had in me. I carried all my emotions and fears and took a step. For me, taking that step made all the difference in the world. It helped me find my stride.
Throughout our lives, we are faced with a multitude of different experiences. We typically take on the experiences that are within our comfort zone. When we push ourselves outside of our safety net, we can apply our personal talents and interests to help us defeat that "but I can't" attitude. When we get outside of our comfort zone, we allow our talents to shine through.
When we push our fears away and jump into the things that scare us, we are able to overcome those fears and surprise ourselves with the fact that we can succeed.
If you're writing your prepared public speech for contest night, take a second. Find your points and write them down one at a time. This may slow your progress, but will create an environment for ideas to flow.
When you're trying out for that football team for the first time, start small by learning one play at a time. Never let the fear of trying something new prohibit you from moving forward.
If you're practicing for your marching band performance, work on your music every night. Split it into chunks so it's easier to remember, and add more and more until you can play the whole song by heart.
When you're getting ready for that big show, start small by working with your animal for 30 minutes a day and work your way up from there. Over time, that stride you created will help you for the big show.
We all have different passions and experiences that make us unique. When we find our stride, we are able to defeat that "but I can't" attitude. Our stride is a personal plan to conquer our deepest desires and tackle our fears. Sometimes the smallest strides can lead to the sweetest rewards.
When we say no to giving up and quitting, we are beating those fears. The more we say no, the closer we are to overcoming the fears that hold us back. As long as we keep ourselves open to new perspectives and ideas, we will have the mindset that we can and we will succeed. We have no idea how much we can grow until we tackle the little roadblocks on our path to success.
Michigan FFA, find your stride.
Good job, Ben.
Standing outside the bar, standing outside the bar. Life is not tried, it is merely survived if you're standing outside the bar. Standing outside the bar, standing outside the bar.
Autumn, getting to simply be in your presence this past year has been a pleasure. You have taught us all the quirkiest sayings, shared your countless funny stories, and been a wonderfully kind soul. You live your life with a passion for so many things, and that serves as an amazing example for our team and the members. Michigan FFA, our Region 3 State Vice President, Autumn Loss.
Sprinkles. Your ability to lighten up any room that you walk into with your horrible dance moves, smile, and laughter has been a staple for our team. I will never be able to find the words to describe what you mean to us, and I love you so much. Michigan FFA, your state treasurer, Ben Butcher.
Standing outside the bar, standing outside the bar. Life is not tried, it is merely survived if you're standing